racial healing in Africa. This initiative aims to develop a common African position on reparations, establish an African reparatory program of action, and strengthen collaboration with the Caribbean community, CARICOM, and the global African diaspora through a joint mechanism on reparations. These efforts are crucial in ensuring that Africans and people of African descent receive justice in tangible and transformative ways. From the streets of Accra to the auditoriums of the African Union, voices of the African people from and outside the continent are uniting to demand justice and repair. Scholars emphasize the economic and psychological impact of historical injustices. Activists call for direct reparations in various forms, including development funds, educational programs, restitution of looted cultural property, international institutional reform, and political representation. The youth are leading movements that challenge the status quo, ensuring the call for reparations remains at the forefront of global discussions. The path to justice and repair is long, but the African Union, its member states, the African citizens, and the African diaspora are determined to walk it together. Reparations are not just about the past, they are about the future, a future where history is acknowledged, justice is served, and Africans and people
from African countries. The president is participating in his capacity as a chair of the North Africa Regional Mechanism and also a chairperson of the heads of state and government orientation committee of the African Union Development Agency. During the meeting, President El-Sisi is to outline efforts to strengthen the effectiveness of these mechanisms, with a particular focus on linking peace and security initiatives to broader development goals aimed at achieving the sustainable stability across Africa. The mid-year coordination meeting was established in 2017 to replace the African side of the screen, and the president is being welcomed as President El-Sisi is participating in the conference as the chair of the North Africa Regional Mechanism and also chairperson of the heads of state and government orientation committee of the African Union Development Agency.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, honorable presidents, Your Excellency, Madame Constancia Mangué Nzui, honorable presidents, Your Excellency, Madame Constancia Mangué Nzui Okomo, the First Lady of the Republic of Equatorial Guinea, Your Excellency, João Lourenço, President of the Republic of Angola and Chairperson of the African Union, Your Excellency, Teodoro Obiang Nguema, Your Excellency, Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Your Excellencies, distinguished former presidents here present, Your Excellencies, honorable ministers, Your Excellency Ambassador Salma Malika Haddadi, the Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission. Of the African Union Commission. Your Excellency, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, Mama Africa, you are welcome. Excellencies, Commissioners, and all the leadership of the Commission, Your Excellency Wamkele Mini, Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, Your Excellency Madame Nardos Bekele Thomas, CEO, Audanipad, Your Excellency Dr. Jan Kasaya, Director General of Africa, CDC, Your Excellency Ambassador Marie Antoinette Rose-Quatre, Chief Executive Officer, APRM, Your Excellency Dr. Tidiane Ouattara, President of African Space Agency Council, Your Excellencies, heads of AU organs here present, Your Excellency Dr. Workenna Gabayo, Executive Secretary of the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, Your Excellency Mr. Benedict Orama, President of the Afrexim Bank, Your Excellencies, heads of COMESA, ECOWAS, SINSAD, EAC, ECAS, SADC and UMA, and Your Excellency, Sheikh Shakhbout Ben Nahyan Al Nahyan, Minister of State, distinguished representative of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the President of the United Arab Emirates, and a special guest of the African Union, members of the press here present, buenos dias, excellencias, very good morning to you, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It gives me great honor and pleasure to welcome you all to the opening ceremony of the 7th Mid-Year Coordination Meeting between the African Union and the regional economic communities held today in Malabo, the capital city of the Republic of Equatorial Guinea. Malabo is a vibrant city with deep cultural roots which combines natural beauty with historical charm, tropical climate with warm hospitality, thriving economy, and cultural diversity. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the 7th Mid-Year Coordination Meeting between African Union and the regional economic communities represents an important platform for enhancing coherence and synergy, which are key principles in the implementation of the African priorities. This coordination mechanism fosters collective leadership and continental integration and ensures that all the efforts at the regional and continental levels are harmonized in line with Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, having said so, the program of today's opening ceremony will stand as follows. First of all, we are honored to welcome Her Excellency Constancia Mange Okomo, First Lady of the Republic of Equatorial Guinea, who will deliver her remarks, followed by a statement by His Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, Chairperson of the African Union Commission. Then we will have a statement by His Excellency Teodoro Obiang Nguema Ambazogo, President of the Republic of Equatorial Guinea. Then His Excellency João Lorenzo, President of the Republic of Angola and the Chairperson of the African Union, will make his opening remarks. Without any further ado, I have the great honor and privilege to invite Her Excellency, Madame Constancia Mange Okomo, First Lady of the Republic of Equatorial Guinea, to deliver her remarks. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Excelencias, Jefe de Estado y de Gobierno, Excelentísimo Señor Presidente de la Comisión de la Unión Africana, Excelentísimos Señores Jefe de Delegaciones de los Estados miembros, distinguidos representantes de la Red Africana de Federación de la Mujer Rural, RAFER, distinguidas autoridades nacionales e internacionales, distinguidas mujeres, representantes e integrantes de las cooperativas, asociaciones y empresas, estimados invitados todos, señoras y señores. Tomo la palabra ante esta magna asamblea.
Representatives and members of cooperatives, associations, and companies, dear guests all, ladies and gentlemen, I take the floor before this great assembly to thank for this advantage that is given to the African Network of Rural Women's Federations, RAFER, and taking this advantage of this stage dedicated to the 7th mid-year coordination meeting of the African Union to participate with the deep conviction that our continent must take a decisive and pragmatic choice regarding a reality that has been ignored for many years. I am referring to the essential contribution of rural African women to the development of our continent. In Africa, women represent more than half of the population, and the majority of whom live in rural areas. They work the land, they process crops, they feed and educate children in our communities. They treat the sick and are the backbone of agricultural and livestock production to ensure food security. Your Excellencies, it is neither fair nor economically viable to neglect women who are daily burdened with the responsibility of carrying the weight of African families. And in order to solve the situation, rural women from over 30 African countries have created the African Network of Rural Women's Federations, RAFER. And this is an instrument for the empowerment of African rural women with a strategic operational arm for the production and processing of food products in rural areas. Therefore, this is not just another structure. It is a strategic, federated, and Pan-African instrument that is designed by women themselves to strengthen their initiatives and capacities in structuring their actions in order to mobilize resources and to ensure their full inclusion in the sustainable development of the African continent. In this sense, RAFER is directly aligned with the priority objectives of the United Nations 2030 Agenda and the African Union's Agenda 2063 to achieve a prosperous and inclusive Africa founded on justice and the equal participation of all its children. I am here on behalf of the African rural women as continental godmother and honorary president of RAFER. But for me, this is not a title, but rather a commitment to fight continent-wide so that the actions that we, the women, have progressively carried out, the women of Equatorial Guinea, can also continue for many years for the continent as a whole. In this regard, I am here to request the support of the African Union for the Rural African Women's Network, RAFER, and at the same time to inform you of the support that the government of Equatorial Guinea has offered by donating a 3-story headquarters building for RAFER, recently inaugurated on the 10th of this month in the center of the city of Malabo. This building is fully furnished and equipped with financial resources, vehicles, and logistic material that have allowed RAFER to become a reality today. I also want to highlight the ongoing social and charitable activities that we've been implementing through the foundation that bears my name and with the support of our government to benefit the most vulnerable and disadvantaged sectors in our society, resulting in concrete actions such as the construction of the psychiatric centers with modern facilities to assist patients with mental health problems, the creation of the change of clinics, Virgen de Guadalupe, the creation of educational centers for Equatorial Guinean child support, AIMUGE, the granting of loans to women's associations, AIMUGE amongst others. We want all these efforts to receive the support of the African Union to strengthen healthcare systems, improve the quality of education, and empower women on the African continent in general. Your Excellencies, my experience allows me to testify to the positive value of the activities carried out by rural women in Equatorial Guinea. If we provide them with the necessary means to act as a direct way of empowering present and future generations of rural women. And it is for this reason that with all my humility, my humbleness, I address your Excellencies today requesting the official recognition of RAFER as a civil society organization affiliated with the African Union. This recognition would not constitute a mere formality, but an act of faith, solidarity and African justice towards your mothers, sisters, wives, and daughters who want to be seen, heard, and supported. Africa can no longer afford to ignore the efforts made by RAFER. The moment for full inclusion of rural women has come. RAFER is the way. Please grant it the institutional recognition and the support it deserves. And I conclude my words by encouraging all my African sisters to remain firm on this path that we have begun. Our sweat, our labor will be recognized and rewarded. Thank you so much.
Chairperson of the African Union Commission, to deliver his statement. Your Excellency.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Excellence, Monsieur Joao Lorenzo.
Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, to deliver his statement. Your Excellency.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Excellence, Monsieur Joao Lorenzo, Président de
Your Excellency, Mr. Joao Lorenzo, President of the Republic of Angola, Chair of the African Union. Your Excellency, Teodoro Obiangema, Ambassador, President of Equatorial Guinea, and gracious host, Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, Heads of Regional Economic Communities, Madam Deputy Chairpersons, Senior Executives of the REX, President of Africa. In today's dynamically evolving international landscape, we are witnessing significant shifts, major regional realignments, like the fast expanding BRICS. Therefore, our continent should be able to cope with all of this with strength and determination. We have to engage in our integration through the AFCFTA. And we have to show how much Africa weighs on this international scene. For example, Africa has more than 50% of the reserves of manganese and other minerals. These are strategic minerals. And if we commit ourselves to transform these raw materials like copper, and other minerals in Africa, I think Africa would be the driving force of world growth, according to many experts. In transforming African agricultural products like coffee and cocoa, we will be able to strengthen the value chain. And this is indispensable for investments. For example, money exchange has evolved over these past years, and we can mention that the role of the diaspora is being recognized. The mobilization of domestic resources and efforts are made by member states to improve on taxation, to have sovereign treasury bonds and place them on the international market. However, the flows and inflows of illicit financial flows on the continent have been ruining our economies and are in the millions of dollars. So our continental free trade area would increase inter-African trade. And by 2035, we expect more than 50% of an increase in our trade. We have to lift tariff barriers and non-tariff barriers. We are far from our ambitions, but we need a lot of commitment. More than 20 countries have already signed this treaty. We should not have recourse to international public assistance. The future of Africa is also written through digitalization of our economies, and it is recognized that digitalization can improve productivity and is a key sector of our economies. A change in this sector has improved the economies of countries like Rwanda, Kenya, Uganda, and Nigeria. This media coordination meeting should be a leverage for us to improve on our growth. We need innovative and resilient growth in our continent. I thank you for your kind attention.
Teodoro Obiang Nguema Ambazogo, President of the Republic of Equatorial Guinea, the host country for this meeting, to deliver his statement. Your Excellency. Teodoro Obiang Nguema Ambazogo, President of the Republic of Equatorial Guinea, the host country for this meeting, to deliver his statement. Your Excellency.
Su Excelencia, Presidente de las Comunidades Económicas y Mecanismos, Presidente de la República de Angola y Presidente en ejercicio de la Unión Africana. Sus Excelencias.
Mr. Chairperson of the African Union Commission,
Excelentísimos señores miembros,
Your Excellencies, local and national authorities, in my name and on behalf of the government of the Republic of Equatorial Guinea, I wish to bid a warm welcome to all heads of state and government and all delegations present here, as well as all the personalities who came to honor us in this capital city of Malabo by attending this media coordination meeting. The city of Sipopo that is welcoming you here today was bill taking into account the African integration spirit. The city of Simpopo is the city of African unity, African union. And here each delegation, every representative finds a place where dignity, dialogue, and hope, shared hope, is expressed. Simpopo has had the honor of hosting many high-level summits of the African Union, and we will always be ready to host with affection our African brothers and sisters, as well as their respective governments. We wish that you feel at home here and that you do witness the hospitality that we are extended to you, which shows our determination to sincerely contribute to Africa's integrity. Our union is contributing to the fact that they should have reparations for all the plundering of their artifacts. From the depths of our identity, these architects reflect our identity. It's a call to truth, dignity, and our memory. We are convinced that the historic justice is one of the things for the development of our future and our present, and therefore justice should be rendered. We do congratulate the African Union on the fact that this theme was chosen during the Addis Ababa summit in February. We do state our commitment to ensure that that theme is respected and complied with. There cannot be any African unity without a past, without a memory, without a recognition, and without a reparation for economic and other crimes. To ensure equity and justice for all African peoples would also include, amongst other things, our brothers and sisters of the diaspora. It would be necessary, therefore, to advance the aspirations of a strong cultural integration of Africa, Africa that shares values in conformity and in compliance with Agenda 26.3. So we want to put in place an Africa that is integrated and at peace, an Africa that would make its collective voice heard clearly on the world scene, an Africa that confirms the role that it should play and deserves on the international scene. We would wish to recognize that modern reforms enable us to lift all challenges and bottlenecks to our sovereignty. Although a lot of policies have been imposed upon us economically and so forth, these are challenges to us. We have to free ourselves from these circumstances. That is the sine qua non for our self-determination. From Malabo, we do reassert that reparations would not just be symbolic, but should be some structural and basic recognition that would permit the continent to assert itself and show its full-fledged emancipation. We cannot talk about the future of Africa without talking about peace and security. So the progress that has been made by many countries and several regions on the continent and in the world is the same kind of peace we want on the continent. We do wish to congratulate Rwanda and DRC for the peace they have signed, so that peace should return to this part of the country in East Congo. In the continent, we have always faced conflicts, armed conflicts, and political instability, and also cope with terrorism that endangers the security and safety of our people, but that is a bottleneck to the credibility of our institutions and the sustainability of our development efforts. Africa can only develop fully unless all the arms are silenced. For example, in our regions, we have threats to terrorism. They are so vile that entire cities are lost and peace and hope are lost. Terrorism is such a threat that we cannot engage in intelligent and shared cooperation in mutual respect if we do not fight this terrorism. It is therefore necessary that we have strong states that protect the people, their populations, and that we show a political will to better understand the effects of such terrorism, the root causes of such terrorism. We have to silence our guns and engage in development and innovation. An Africa at peace is an Africa that would permit trade amongst us in order to develop these markets and put in the forefront productive measures for our produce. Africa must now engage in its economic independence. Our sovereignty is usually restricted by a world system that imposes financial, technical, and trade barriers on us, which produce inequities that perpetuate the dependence of Africa on other regions of the world. We need to have a deeper collaboration and cooperation among states. We have to strengthen our individual economies, but we have also to strengthen our collective independence in order to help those emerging economies that have potential. It is in this way that we'll be able to negotiate with the rest of the world from a strong position in dignity and efficient and strategic efficiency. The world is becoming more and more global, but unfortunately, Africa is lagging behind. We do therefore need a transfer of technology and put in place measures that do not restrict the spread of knowledge amongst ourselves. International economies, instead of helping us in our development, usually impose very strict measures upon us, thereby restricting our development and our enterprises. This does not only make us lag behind, but penalizes us. Africa cannot continue to be a spectator in the global space where decisions are made and taken, decisions that affect our future. Therefore, we need at least a place on the table and an equitable distribution with efficient power allotted to us. Our strategic and economic strength has to be properly seen in the world. Food security and other challenges that confront us are there, and we cannot continue to operate in this manner where we have such fertile lands that could produce food, thereby having countries that depend on food imports. Our vulnerabilities expose us to various internal and domestic crises and destabilize our economies. We have to redouble our efforts to develop local production, to boost our agriculture, and agriculture, especially under the AFCFTA, would become a key that would stimulate intra-African trade and reduce our dependence vis-a-vis other regions, thereby strengthening our sovereignty and our food security. The world is more and more connected and digitalized. Technologies are an important pillar for the development of our continent. For Africa, technological integration and digitalization is a must, and it's a major decision that should be taken strategically to strengthen our countries and resolve our social problems. Agenda 2063 should become a reality and a priority that will enable us to change our continent to become a continent that will be based on technology and innovation. We must identify the ills that affect us, and through this, solidarity and unity should be the weapons that we should use to lift the gauntlet and take concrete measures that will enable us to bring about continental integration. Thus, we will be able to have sustainable development that would correspond to the aspirations of our peoples in accordance with Agenda 2063. Equatorial Guinea reiterates its full cooperation to cooperate with all brothers and sisters on the continent, and in particular with the African Union Commission to find African solutions to African problems. We wish to rely on the wisdom of our leaders and on the riches of our countries to forge ahead in having the Africa that we want. We need justice, equality, and peace. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank you for being present here in Malabo, and I do wish the deliberations of this media coordination meeting full success so that the visionary objectives of Africa become reality. I thank you very much.
Attending this meeting. Muchas gracias, Excellency, for the generous hospitality extended to the high level and all participants attending this meeting. I now have the honor to invite His Excellency João Lourenço, President of the Republic of Angola and Chairperson of the African Union, to deliver his statement. Your Excellency. I now have the honor to invite His Excellency João Lourenço, President of the Republic of Angola and Chairperson of the African Union, to deliver his statement. Your Excellency.
Sua Excelência Teodoro Obiang Nguema Mbasogo, Presidente da República da Guiné Equatorial e Presidente em exercício da Comunidade Econômica dos Estados da África Central, SEAC, Suas Excelências, Chefes de Estado e de Governo, membros
Obiang Nguema Mbasogo, the President of the Republic of Equatorial Guinea, and the Chairperson of the Economic Community of Central African States, ECAS, Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, members of the Bureau of the Assembly of the African Union, Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, Heads of Regional Economic Communities and Regional Mechanisms, Your Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, the Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Your Excellencies, Commissioners of the African Union Commission, honorable dignitaries in attendance, ladies and gentlemen. It is with the highest honor that, as the Chairperson of the African Union, I take the floor to address Your Excellencies at a time when the African Union meets for the 7th time with the regional economic communities and regional mechanisms in the format of a mid-year coordination to reflect on the African regional integration process and its present state, taking into account the fulfillment of the fundamental objectives and targets of Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. We express our deepest gratitude to His Excellency President Teodoro Obiang Nguema Mbasogo and the people of the Republic of Equatorial Guinea for agreeing to host this important summit and for the warm welcome and exceptional hospitality accorded to all delegations since our arrival in the beautiful and welcoming city of Malabo. As we all know and maintain, regional integration in Africa, it's more than a political, economic, and social ideal. It is, above all, one of the essential vectors for transforming the great ambitions of Agenda 2063 into concrete progress and a profoundly strategic need for the African continent, marked by borders inherited from the colonial era, which often ignored cultural and social and economic realities of the African people. It is precisely in this context that the need arises to strengthen the coordination between our continental organization and the regional economic communities and regional mechanisms, by understanding that the latter are the essential pillars of the African architecture as vehicles for interconnection between the continental policies and the national dynamics in the most varied domains. From the establishment of the Organization of African Unity in 1963 to its transformation into the current African Union in 2002, we have witnessed a significant evolution in the mechanisms for continental integration. Structures such as the African Continental Free Trade Area represent today historic milestones in the unification process of African markets by creating the largest trade agreement in the world in terms of participating countries and a market of more than 1.3 billion consumers, thus becoming the true lever for continental economic growth, for poverty reduction, and for the promotion of social equity through a greater industrialization and increased intra-African exports. I believe that the positive signs observed in terms of stimulating the growth of intra-African trade during the initial phases of the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area will encourage us to continue the collective and individual efforts towards this promising horizon, which is designed in favor of the economy of our continent. Likewise, and within the frameworks of the mechanism for promoting our continental development, I must highlight the central role that Order NEPAD has played with regards to the implementation of the Pan-African vision defined in Agenda 2063, namely through the mobilization and availability of multiform resources that are essential for the successful implementation of our continental and regional priority projects. Still within the same context, I also consider opportune to ensure within the best possible time frame the observance of the different legal aspects and conditions of applicability on the establishment and structuring of the Development Fund for the Agenda 2063. This fund should complement the work that has been developed by the existing financing mechanisms, which are dedicated to the mobilization of the resources for the implementation of projects related to the construction and improvement of infrastructure in our continent, and also their application in initiatives related to education, health, and technologies, which are essential and indispensable in the entire process of economic development of the African continent. In view of the immense challenges facing our continent due to the lack of modern and sufficient infrastructure, we need to increase investment to provide access to reliable and low-cost energy, to modern and efficient roads, railways, ports, and airports, and to high-quality digital networks. This will certainly contribute to the improvement of health and education services, facilitate the movement of goods and service, reducing the logistics costs. It will stimulate industrial development, and consequently, it will contribute to the increase of foreign direct investment to our continent. I would like to once again mention that the African Union, in coordination with the government of the Republic of Angola, is taking important steps towards holding in Luanda, the capital of the Republic of Angola, between the 28th and 31st of October this year, of an important conference on infrastructure financing in Africa, to which I would like to invite you, Excellencies, in my capacity as the President of the host country and the Chairperson of the African Union. In fact, this important initiative of the Angolan Presidency of the African Union is in line with the Program for Infrastructure Development in Africa, PIDA, which in recent years has set in motion actions aimed at the development of road, rail, energy, digital and hybrid infrastructure across the continent. In addition to what I have just mentioned, it is important to highlight that our regional economic communities have served as the fundamental blocks for African integration by harmonizing policies, fostering regional markets, and promoting the mobility of goods, people, and services. Among the various initiatives and projects aimed at the integration and interconnection between the regional economic communities, I would like to highlight the tripartite mechanism made up by SADC, COMESA, and the EAC, which comprises 29 countries representing 53% of the member states of the African Union and more than 60% of the continental gross domestic product and a population of 800 million people, with a focus on integration for development, in commercial complementarity, in the competitive industrial production, and in the infrastructural development of our continent. This is one of those initiatives that we must encourage and invest so that we can take steps towards achieving the full interconnection of the states in our continent. Honorable Presidents, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, despite the progress made and applauded by all of us, we must indeed recognize that there is still a long way to go. We still have structural, institutional, and political challenges that hinder the full realization of our continental ambition, where I would like to highlight crucial issues such as the low industrialization rate and the poor diversification of our economies, the insufficient harmonization of trade, fiscal, health, and custom policies, which discouraging economic operators and which may even create political tensions, armed conflicts, and institutional instability which compromise the necessary peace for any integration process. For this reason, I must mention that in next September in New York, on the sidelines of the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly, the African Union, in coordination with the Republic of Angola, intends to bring together heads of state and government of the continent to hold a broad conference to review the continents in Africa, whose main focus should be on the issue of peace, has an inalienable good for the peoples of our continent. It is important that during the conference we can together review in depth the root causes of our conflicts, so that in a coordinated and bold manner we find the answers we need to put a definite end to each of these conflicts. Addressing issues of peace and security and building secure and resilient infrastructure is a key driver for the sustainable development in Africa. Distinguished Presidents, Excellencies, as we hold the 7th edition of our mid-year coordination meeting, I am convinced that we will have the opportunity to make significant progress through structured discussions in the process linked to the assessment of progress, the identification of possible blockages, and the definition of roadmaps aimed at strengthening our continental integration. Africa is once again called upon to unite to face the existing challenges, and through a common position and with the support of its different partners to provide the necessary structural responses. Integration should not only be a task by governments. The African people, particularly the youth, the civil society, business, academia, must be an active part of this process so that it translates into more employment opportunities, into greater access to markets, into mobility to study and work, and into more resilience in the face of external shocks. Regional integration is a strategic investment in stability, sovereignty, and collective prosperity of our states. In an increasingly multipolar and competitive world, where large regional blocs gain weight in global decisions, Africa cannot continue to speak with scattered voices nor negotiate with fragmented interests. This need for unity in defending the interests of the continent must be already demonstrated on the occasion of the EU-Africa Summit through the African Union to be held at the end of November in Luanda, Angola. The moment calls for strengthened political will, binding commitments, and, above all, tangible results for our citizens. It is indeed time to fast-track the implementation of regional protocols, to trust the continent's capacities, and to promote African production for African consumption, to transform the integration corridors into true arteries for development and peace, and to make the African youth, with their creativity and energy, the engine of our integration. I hope that our deliberations today will enable us to take a step forward towards the implementation of our common agenda at continental and regional levels, with a view to bringing the African peoples even closer together to the promise of a peaceful, prosperous, and integrated continent. With these words, Excellencies, I hereby declare open the 7th Mid-Year Coordination Meeting. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
De familia. Vamos a llamar a los delegados que se queden
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me now to move to the arrangements of the family photo. While calling the rest of the respective delegates to remain in their seats to ensure the smooth organization of the family photo, allow me this time to call the high podium Excellencies, heads of states and governments, African Union Commission leadership, as well as honorable heads of regional economic communities to proceed to the photo session location. I reiterate my request to the distinguished delegates to remain seated until the family photo is complete. Moving forward, His Excellency, the Chairperson of the African Union, will guide the rest of the session. With that, I thank you for your time, and I wish you fruitful deliberations. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much.
نحن لدينا مصير مشترك.
مصر تسلمت الرئاسة الدورية للاتحاد الإفريقي لعام 2019 وتتطلع كعادتها دوما للتعبير عن شواغل الشعوب الإفريقية الشقيقة الرامية